Hello, welcome back to my second channel, welcome back to Jack in the Books. It is the 1st of April, it is April Fool's Day. I am coming to you as your April Fool. I'm a fool and it is April, so it feels like today is the day to tell you about my April TBR. These are the books that I would love to read this April, and I'm going to make it my absolute mission. This is kind of the last month, really, before my podcast goes into full development. So once I start doing that, my TBR is going to be pretty much decided based on who the guests are going to be on the podcast, because of course I want to do all my research to make sure... Am I allowed to talk about the podcast yet? Maybe not, but in my head this is like my close friend's story, like telling you guys, I'm like, it's just telling my friends, don't worry about it. Either way, a podcast is coming, I will be interviewing authors, and so a lot of my TBRs in the future will be dedicated to who we have coming up as guests on the podcast. But for now, these are the books that I would like to read in April before that happens. So firstly, some picks from the International Booker Prize Longlist. Now, we are announcing the shortlist of the International Booker Prize on the 9th of April. I haven't found out yet who is on the shortlist. I'll find out on the 9th with you guys. I'm announcing it though, which is very exciting, so I'll be finding out just slightly before, and I just feel so honoured and excited to get to be involved in the thing that I have like looked up to for all of these years. Like, I get so many of my recommendations from the Booker Prize, from the International Booker Prize, and so to get to have any involvement in it is just like mind-boggling and such a dream come true. But anyways, I announced the long list in March. Long list came out on the 11th of March. These are some books that were on it that kind of took my fancy that I think I'm going to enjoy. And so I'm working my way through the long list at the moment. Of course, once we have the shortlist announcement, I will then immediately prioritize those books because I want to have read those in preparation for hosting the International Booker live stream and interviewing all of those authors. What a dream come true. Anyways, these are the books that I'm going to be reading in anticipation of the shortlist announcement. So this first one is The Details. By the way, I was just thinking to myself, what a crazy coincidence it would be if I somehow managed to predict the shortlist based on just random arbitrary choices of the ones that I picked up to read. Then it would look like a total fix. So let's hope this isn't the exact shortlist, otherwise I'm definitely getting fired. And they're gonna think that I somehow leaked it, even though I don't currently know what it is. Let's just hope I don't get fired from that job, because it's like my dream. It's my dream job. If I got fired from that job by accident, that would be so funny, but also very sad. Anyways, so this is The Details. This is by Ia Genberg, the international bestseller. This is translated from Swedish by Kira Josephson. The line that really stuck with me from this blurb was, "What is the real subject of a portrait? The person being painted or the one holding the brush?" So good. A famous broadcaster writes a forgotten love letter, a friend abruptly disappears, a lover leaves something unexpected behind, a traumatized woman is consumed by her own anxiety. The Details is a novel built around 4 such portraits, unveiling the fragments of memory and experience that make up a life. In exhilarating, provocative prose, Ia Genberg reveals an intimate and powerful celebration of what it means to be human. Now, Fredrik Backman, who is one of the most crucial and important Swedish authors, has praised this book, which is a huge green flag. I mean, look, even the colour of it is green. It's a green flag, come on. The Details is about relationships, about love, about parents and children, about all of it. The little observations about being young, and about growing up, and about getting lost by accident and getting lost on purpose, searching for yourself in everyone else. Damn it, I've underlined half of the book. I wish I could write like this. If I review a book like that, that is very high praise indeed, so the fact that Fredrik Backman has said that means I need to read this. My next choice from the International Booker Longlist was this one. I think I just really like the title, What I'd Rather Not Think About. It reminds me of that Deborah Levy book, Things I Don't Want to Know. This is by Jente Posthuma and translated by Sarah Timmer Harvey, and it is translated from Dutch. This book asks the question, what if one half of a pair of twins no longer wants to live, and what happens when the other can't live without them? I think it's such a fascinating question and moral conundrum. It's described as wryly funny and heartbreakingly sad. Posthuma is a treasure. I love, you know this, I love books that are in equal measure devastatingly sad and joyously funny. And I think that they kind of complement each other in a way. That juxtaposition makes each of the two emotions more intense. And so this book is called What I'd Rather Not Think About, but it's all I want to think about, quite frankly. By my 27th birthday, I owned 142 sweaters, and it was high time I saw a therapist. I think it's just going to be really good fun. Next, from the International Booker Longlist, this is Gabriela Wiener's Undiscovered. It was translated from the Spanish by Julia Sanchez, and it's meant to be a kind of blend of personal and historic writing with fiction and fiction writing. It's about a search for identity beyond the old stories of patriarchs and plunder, subversive, intimate, and fiercely irreverent. It builds to a powerful call for decolonization. I think the story opens in a museum in Paris, and it kind of considers how things arrive in these places, how things end up in museums, and whose right it is to display those things. Undiscovered captivated me, powerful and searing. This novel snaps, bucks, heals, and snaps again. The best book that I've read about ancestry and love in the contemporary post-colonial condition. This sounds so up my street. It sounds exactly like something I would enjoy and like to read about and will learn a lot from. So this is, of course, on my April TBR. And then the final book in this particular TBR that I will be reading from the International Booker Prize longlist is The Silver Bone by Andrey Kurkov, who is an amazing Ukrainian writer. I loved his book, Death and the Penguin. I talk about it all the time. And this book is translated from the Russian by Boris Dreluk. It's set in Kiev in 1919. It's basically about a time when the Soviets controlled the city and people were afraid of their neighbors, you know, and what they were capable of. Everyone was very suspicious of each other. And I think thinking about the way that a community can be disrupted like that is really scary. Not being able to trust the people around you, your own family, your own friends, would put you in such a horrible state of mind. Like not having those comfort people in your life anymore, like not knowing who to trust is horrible to even consider. So I thought this would be a brilliant read as a result. The Times calls Kurkov Ukraine's greatest living novelist. Original and intriguing, relocates the crime novel between Kafka and the Twilight Zone, rich and compulsive, a modern classic in the making. I don't read an awful lot of crime novels, so I think this is going to be really, really fun. I'm excited to sink my teeth into that. Now, before I get on to talking about the next range of books, I wanted to let you know that today's video is very, very kindly brought to you by Squarespace. Squarespace is the all-in-one platform for building a website or an online brand with loads and loads of incredible templates. So you can have a little explore. You can actually get a free trial over at squarespace.com, so you can check them out, have a little play around and see what works for you, and check out the features too, because you can expand from these templates in really incredible ways. Customize them, make them your own, create something completely unique, bring your vision to life. And then there are also amazing features. For example, you can start a blog. There's an email sign-up option. You can also use Squarespace's brilliant analytical tools to see what people are enjoying that you're creating on your website, and therefore what you should make more of. If that all sounds good to you, check out the free trial, and then when you're ready to launch your beautiful new website, you can use the code JackInTheBooks at squarespace.com/JackInTheBooks to get 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Make April the month that you finally make your dream website come to life using Squarespace, and thank you so much to Squarespace for sponsoring this series. Right, next we have some poetry. This is the forward book of poetry for 2024. This features a range of poets. It's an anthology collection, which I always say is a great way of introducing you to new writers, new poets, that you may then want to go and buy a whole collection from. And based on the people they have referenced in here, there are loads of my favourite poets and collections that I really love being referenced in here. Rowan Evans, Mary Jean Chan, Jason Allen Payson. Like, there are so many people I already love in this collection, which just means I think it's going to lead me to more new favourite poets. So this I'm very excited about, and I'm kind of reading a lot of poetry at the moment because I am working on my novel, and I think that, I said this before, but I think poetry kind of gives me a license to be a little bit more playful with language. When I'm reading a lot of poetry, I feel like I am more likely to take risks in my writing and likely to try and be more lyrical, which I always enjoy when I'm reading. So I want to kind of channel that energy, I guess. And so that's why there are a few poetry collections here. And you'll recognize some of those names I just mentioned from my video on poetry on my main channel, where I recommended some modern poetry that I think is really worth your time. So if I think those poets are worth your time, I'm excited to see which other poets this book is platforming, so that's on the list. And then in terms of individual collections by individual writers, this is The Ink Cloud Reader by Kit Fan. A disquieting third collection, Kit Fan takes enormous risks linguistically, formally and visually to process the news of a sudden illness and the threat of mortality. Set against the larger chaos of his beloved city Hong Kong and our broken planet, these shape-shifting poems are sensitive to anxiety and to beauty, questioning the turbulent climate of our time while celebrating the power of ink, of reading and writing. So up my street. This sounds absolutely perfect for me, and again, I just can't wait. I know I'm gonna eat this up. This book I picked up at a Faber party. I went to their like spring showcase, and as you know, I am a Faber super fan. I love a lot of the things that Faber publish. It's iconic. This is kind of a cover, This Faber Poetry collection is so iconic. It feels like such a stamp of approval. And this is Camille Ralph's After You Were, I Am. When she performed poetry from this collection, I was like, yeah, I need to read that immediately, right now. So I picked up a copy of it at the event, and I'm very much looking forward to it. It's described as an extraordinary debut, heralding the arrival of a major new talent. In these poems, charged moments from history collide with our own godless modern world. The book's 3 sections comprise ingenious rewritings of canonical prayers, dramatic monologues from the Pendle witch trials of 1612, and the divine tragedy of the Elizabethan John Dee. They share an obsession with individual human characters and their distinct vernaculars, showing, through a fine attention to language, the ways in which the past can be seen to inform and inform on the present. The style is described as utterly distinctive, modern, metaphysical, tapping into haunting, era-spanning utterance, enlivened by the electric pulse of wordplay and imaginative conceit. That just sounds so excellent. So, firmly on my April TBR, cannot wait to review this, cannot wait to tell you more about it. Very much buzzing with that one. And that's why I love getting to go to these events, because I discover poets that were not on my radar previously and now very much are on my immediate I need to read this right now. A poet who has been on my radar for a long time is Sappho. Sappho was a Greek lesbian poet. I recently saw an amazing statue of her at the Met in New York. And last year I read this great book called After Sappho, which is all about women who were in creative industries, who existed since the time of Sappho. And I thought, let's go back to the source, let's go back to the origin and read some more Sappho. So this is translated by Anne Carson and curated by Anne Carson. It's called If Not Winter, Fragments of Sappho. Sappho lived on the island of Lesbos from 630 BC. She was a musical genius who devoted her life to composing and performing songs. Of the 9 poems of lyrics Sappho is said to have composed, none of the music is extant and only 1 poem has survived complete. All the rest are fragments. I just think it's such an interesting poetic legacy. So you actually have the Greek on one side and the English on the other, and often it is just a single line. For example, not one girl, I think, who looks on the light of the sun will ever have wisdom like this. She just had such an amazing way of writing. She had a great way with words, and I think I'm going to get a lot of inspiration from this. And then my final book that I would like to read this month is Mother of Strangers by Suad Amiry. And it's actually a Palestinian book described by Publishers Weekly as stirring, achingly alive. Amiry's eye-opening story will keep readers turning the pages. At times darkly humorous and ironic, but also profoundly moving, Mother of Strangers, based on a true story, this follows the lives of a 15-year-old mechanic and the 13-year-old student he hopes one day to marry. It's set in 1947 in Jaffa, and I am on a mission to read more Palestinian literature, so that is why this is on the list. Thank you so much for watching this video. Have a wonderful April. All the best, stay in touch, have a wonderful day, and I'll catch you very, very soon. I'm trying not to drop them.